Next on the list is Bill Lustig, or William Lustig, whichever you prefer, his film Maniac Cop 2. Now, Maniac Cop 2 is considered by many people to be one of the best sequels of all time, in that it is better than the original. Most people will agree with that. A very, very small group of people will say that the original Maniac Cop is their favorite. It does have Tom Atkins in it. That is one huge, massive plus.
He'll kill again. He enjoys killing.
He strikes without cause.
It also has a lot more Bruce Campbell.
Since when is my personal life any of your business?
Since your wife was found dead in a motel room.
You gotta be wrong.
You want to see the pretty picture?
Even though this isn't exactly Ash Williams style character work from Campbell. So the cast may be strong, although we do get Robert Davi in Maniac Cop 2 and 3 moving forward, and I am a big fan of Davi ever since I saw him as the villain in one of the Fratelli brothers in The Goonies. But then, I was a small boy when I saw it, so he scared the shit out of me. In License to Kill, the James Bond film, the first PG-13 James Bond film with exploding heads and pressure devices and lovers getting their hearts cut out off screen, but there was this intense scream. I mean, this is how the movie opens. He basically cuts a dude. He has his goons cut a dude's heart out while the guy screams like "ah" off camera. And this was like typically, I mean, although there was a lot of innuendo in the previous and action in the previous James Bond films, there was never anything quite as intense as it was in this movie. And he was at the forefront of it because he was the big bad. He was the main baddie there, and he did an amazing job in this movie. And in Maniac Cop 3, you actually get to see him play the good guy. He is a bit of a grizzled detective type, anti-hero, if you will. The type of character you would see in an old noir film. So he's not exactly a good guy per se. He's a good guy. He's the good guy. But he's not like, milquetoast. He's not like, he's closer to like a John McClane type, I guess, although not as actiony because he wears the fedora and he's kind of a classic detective type. Maniac Cop 2 is gorgeous. It's one of the main things it's known for. It looks beautiful, and if you have a chance to check it out, even not just on Blu-ray, but especially the 4K Blu-ray, it's one of the best looking movies that I've seen in that format. Just everything, the colors, just the way the film was framed, it's gorgeous to behold, even though the story at times, the story is a bit light. My main issue with the movie has always been Matt Cordell, who's the Maniac Cop, his character's motivations in the film. He is kind of a vengeful ghost type / zombie from beyond the grave, and he's killing people. And in a similar way that a lot of people were confused in the original Candyman why Tony Todd was killing predominantly black people. In Maniac Cop, the series, really, Cordell is a good cop. He's a good cop. And he is falsely accused of something. He goes to prison, and because he's a cop, he is shivved and brutalized in the shower one day, and he's mutilated. And he is very, very angry about this. And I believe he dies. I think that's the whole point of Maniac Cop. Now, whether or not he dies in Maniac Cop and then comes back, or if he's just brutalized and comes back, he's definitely dead in Maniac Cop 2. But the problem is, really, he kills predominantly innocent people, for the most part. I mean, he does kill and have a reason of sorts to kill Bruce Campbell in this movie. Spoiler alert, but it happens. It's another infamous thing about Maniac Cop 2. Bruce Campbell dies. One of the main stars of the first movie dies in like the first 10 minutes, somewhere in there. It's very, very, very quick. And so that makes sense, but everybody else is just kind of the good guys. Like he'll go to he'll stop like a robbery or something, just to give an example, and there's the crook there with the gun, and there's the person who is the victim, and it usually ends with them saying, "Oh, thank you so much for saving me," and then he kills them. My question was always,
What for?
why is he killing innocent people? He was a good cop. Like in his life, he stood up for the helpless, and he wasn't corrupt. So it's like, why is he all of a sudden in death corrupt? So That was my problem. I know it's the type of movie you're not supposed to think too much about, but once you start to think about that, you start to like, either you're going to have a problem with it or you're not. The movie has amazing action set pieces. It's fun. It's exciting. It's this movie. This one is inventive. They add a bunch of new stuff to the lore, and it's bigger. He partners with a serial killer in this. It's a very, very odd film, and it's big and it's explosive. It's everything a sequel should be, but that problem remains. So you either can look past it or not. I, for the most part, look past it. The movie, if it wasn't for that flaw, if they just put more thought into that aspect of the film, I feel like it would be a classic, because everything else hits on point. It hits. Now, really, the real question for me is whether it's a movie or a guilty pleasure. That is tough. I'm a story guy. I'm the kind of guy where these problems in stories and plots and flaws in scripts and structure sometimes bother me. It depends on what it is. This one bothers me, but it's one of those things I keep thinking about. It's like to try to, because I want to be okay with it, and try to, maybe it does make sense. What is it? I got to that place with the Candyman thing, at least enough for me in that, and just the way I came to it in my head, and maybe we'll talk about it one day, because Candyman is one of my favorite movies and horror movies of all time. But this one, he's just like, I don't know, he's just really, really pissed off, and he's so depressed that he's just going to go against his own moral code, or maybe in death we have no moral code. I know there is something to be said about a vengeful spirit. Like if you look at like the Ju-on films and like Japanese horror and stuff like that, but the Ju-on films specifically, the ghost kills the house and the ghost kills indiscriminately. Doesn't care if you're good or bad. And I think that is closer to perhaps a Candyman type of thing. But there are certain times where it does seem like you just don't understand what this guy's out for, this Matt Cordell dude. Like what he's doing. And then there's the question of, what is he? Is he a ghost? Is he a zombie? What is he? He's a maniac cop. That's what he is. But and you don't need anything else. This script was written by Larry Cohen. I love Larry Cohen. I don't know if I've said that before, and we haven't talked about him in this series, but he's one of my favorites. I mean, his movies, especially the fact that he didn't care about getting permits, work permits, and you watch his movies and they have this kind of real feel. You see like a lot of people, especially the scenes on the streets, you see a lot of real people in these scenes, and you could see the looks on their face, and it was like, what's going on? They really think that everything that's happening is really happening, and they're confused. Sometimes he would hire real people, non-actors, a lot of the time actually. You'll see in a scene that he gave them lines, and they're just like, that's not an actor, but it has this really, really cool, authentic feel to it. And all of his movies are like that, and it's so great. It's why I love him. And he worked with Bill Lustig on all three Maniac Cop movies. The third one was a nightmare. Maybe we can get into that at another time if you want to look into it yourself. But it was, long story short, pretty much Lustig and I believe Cohen, but definitely Lustig, disowned the film, because the movie was basically taken away from him. But taken away from him / he walked off, and they just finished the movie, and it's like an Alan Smithy joint, basically, because of it. And then he worked with Cohen again in the movie Uncle Sam years later. That movie is not as good as Maniac Cop 2, but I like pretty much all things Larry Cohen. And in my eyes, he can do no wrong. Do no wrong. So, this is so tough. You know what? I'm going to tell you, this movie has problems. It has problems, but all of its strengths are stronger than most other movies of its ilk. It is up there. So I have to give it what a movie. Obviously, I'm not going to give it classic for the reasons I've said, but I'm going to give it. It wants to be a classic. I'm going to give it what a movie, because I feel like it. Sorry.